Good evening, and you're watching Bhutan This Week, our weekly news magazine program with me, Kilitan. Our top stories this week. 4 out of every 10 school-going adolescents in Bhutan addicted to the internet. Monitoring quality of education in ECCD centers still a challenge. And Thimphu less prepared for an earthquake disaster. Now the details. 4 out of 10 school-going adolescents in Bhutan are addicted to the internet. This is according to a recent research conducted by a group of doctors. Internet addiction is defined as internet use that interferes with daily life. The research findings were presented at the 4th International Conference on Medical and Health Sciences held in Thimphu.
Internet has become an integral part of people's lives. It allows greater flexibility and convenience. In Bhutan, with excessive use of internet, addiction to it has become high. As of 2017, 75% of the total general population used the internet, of which internet addiction among high school students was found to be at 40%.
Bhutan per se, through this study we have found that ours is one of the highest in the region, and that could be also explained because of the fact that number of people in terms of proportion who have access to internet is Bhutan is highest in South Asia. Number of mobile subscription, percentage, again not number, percentage, again Bhutan stands at 92%, which is again one of the highest in the region. So maybe because of these two facts actually explains why we also have very high internet addiction.
The study also found that lack of time from parents, boredom, peer pressure and other associated psychological disorders were some of the reasons why high school adolescents turned to the internet.
People who were addicted to internet were also depressed and stressed out. But since our study is just one-point contact study, it's a cross-sectional study, so that's why we cannot say that addiction is actually causing depression and stress. But we can definitely say from our study that the people who were addicted were definitely depressed and stressed out.
They added internet addiction is a growing concern and that this study would be valuable information in designing preventive interventions at home and at schools. More than 700 students were involved in the study. Sam Tendolkar, BBS News.
The 15-month-old conjoined twins who underwent life-changing surgery at the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne are recovering and healing well. The girls are still in the hospital and it is not known when they will be allowed to leave the hospital. Dr. Kramery, head of pediatric surgery, said the girls are getting back to a more normal life.
Twins Nima and Dawa have been now living as a separate individual since Friday morning. It is a special day for the pair and their mother Pumchutema. The twins were born conjoined in 2017. They were born joined at the torso and shared a liver. And the surgery was what could separate them. On Friday, the separation finally occurred, and after all the applause come the tears of joy. Dr. Kramery, head of the pediatric surgery, said the areas they tampered with during the surgery are healing well.
The girls have followed largely the path that we set out for them. Like any surgical pathway, there has been a few bumps in the road and there are a few bumps we're still smoothing out. But with all the resources we've got here at the Children's Hospital, especially with our intensive care team and our anaesthetic team, we're making good progress at the current time.
The nurses looking after the girls in the hospital said they like to stay close even after the separation surgery.
They're really cheeky, they're not far from one another at any time at all. They're nursed in the one bed, they're happy, clapping, laughing, smiling at us all.
The twins were separated in the 6-hour surgery by a team of 25 people. The surgery, initially planned in October, had to be postponed after the twins were found low on vital nutrients and vitamins. The girls and their mother flew to Australia last month. Kiladem for BBS News.
The Office of the Attorney General has appealed to the High Court's larger bench regarding the inconsistent interpretation of the Tobacco Control Amendment Act 2014. OAG says there are inconsistent interpretations under the Offences and Penalties chapter of the Act. Currently, there are two similar cases under appeal at the High Court.
According to the Office of the Attorney General, there is an inconsistent interpretation of the term second time and repeated offender. In June this year, a bench of Thimphu District Court passed a judgment considering a second time offences as a repeated offender. In August last year, another bench of Thimphu District Court had considered a similar offender as a first-timer. This was because he was brought to the court for the first time, although he already held a record with the BNCA. The OAG then appealed to the High Court against the judgment passed in 2017. But the High Court upheld the lower court's judgment. Since OAG found a question of law, they further appealed to the larger bench of the High Court, requesting for the consistent interpretation on the words second time and repeated offender under the Offences and Penalties chapter in the Act. According to Section 51B, subclause C, under the Tobacco Control Amendment Act 2014, it states that any person who breaches Section 11D for the second time shall be punished with misdemeanor as per the Penal Code of Bhutan and pay fine 10 times the value of the tobacco or tobacco products. But in Dzongkha version of the Act, second time in English version is translated as the repeated offender who should have at least a past criminal record with the court. But OAG says some courts do not consider a culprit fined by the BNCA for the first offences and then brought to court for his second offences as a repeated offender. OAG says this kind of inconsistent interpretation hampers enforcing the law. For Changadoji Chunidama for BBS News.
Monitoring quality of education in the early childhood care and development centers is still a challenge. The Education Ministry is constrained with shortage of manpower to carry out the task. This was highlighted during the second ECCD festival in Mongar held recently.
Currently, the ministry has a handful of people looking after the matters related to early childhood care and development centers across the country. And for them, it is a daunting task to monitor the quality of learning for over 300 ECCD centers across the country.
Even though we have the monitoring system, the tools and the mechanism in place, sometimes there are gaps in implementation because of shortage of manpower, both at the ministry level and the Dzongkha levels. So because of this, we have not been able to consistently look at quality at all levels.
The ECCD facilitators said with limited training, there is only so much they can do to address the issue.
We only get 2-week-long basic training after the recruitment. I feel this is too short for us to get acquainted with the required knowledge and skills. During the training, we are taught so many things, including the 6 domains of a teaching method. And every domain is a vast topic. I've been working as an ECCD facilitator for about 2 months now, but so far I did not get any training in the field. We would be grateful if the ministry would provide us with long-term training and refresher courses to enhance our knowledge.
They added, along with the roles of ECCD facilitators, parents should also understand their roles in a child's development. Meanwhile, regarding the professional development of the facilitators, officials said the ministry has already started a diploma certificate course at Paro College of Education since 2015. The first batch of 85 students will graduate this year.
We have actually been, from the very outset, we have been planning and offering professional development in terms of providing basic trainings initially and then developing a diploma in ECCD, which we hope will address the professional development needs of ECCD facilitators.
During the 3-day festival, around 100 participants, including ECCD facilitators, principals and Dzongkha education officers, attended the event. The Education Ministry organized the annual festival with financial support from UNICEF and Save the Children. Currently, there are over 600 ECCD facilitators working on contract with the Education Ministry. For Sonam Tsering in Mongar, this is Pasung Doji for BBS News.
Unlike other students in the country, some 5,000 students of Tashianse have uniform question papers in the schools. The Dzongkhag education sector initiated the system in 2015 and has been a successful move so far.
There are 28 schools in Tashianse, and when it comes to exams, all students in the Dzongkhag get the same question papers. Except for board exams, the question papers are prepared by a selected group of teachers in the Dzongkhag for all schools.
When you have uniform questions for all levels, all the schools of the Dzongkhag, you will see that the thematic areas for teaching and learning are being taken care, and also this actually gives opportunity for the schools and children to actually keep themselves abreast, and then also check and see that they are at par with the other schools and other children in the schools.
3 teacher resource centers established in the district take lead role in preparing questions as per the standards of curriculum.
All schools get opportunity to set the questions, but all schools do not get opportunity to set questions for all levels, all subjects, and levels and subjects are being distributed among the schools in the cluster. And then clusters are again being given which questions, which levels, which subjects to be prepared, so that as a whole you get the the questions for all levels, all subjects for the Dzongkhag.
It is too early to carry out impact studies, but the district education sector thinks the system is beneficial.
We found that this system has actually helped in promoting the uniformity across the schools in Dzongkhag, and also this system has actually benefited the check and balance system of administering questions and examinations for our children. So we thought that this system will actually would work for enhancing the learning outcomes of our children and in benchmarking the standards of our children across the levels and in schools.
With the system in place, teachers have to complete teaching whatever is in the syllabus since questions are expected from all chapters. For Pimatong, this is Sishinongmo, BBS News.
Ministry of Education launched Dampu Lower Secondary School as Special Education Need Program School. This will enhance education opportunities for children with special needs in the district. According to a survey conducted by Education Ministry last year, Serang was found with over 60 students who required special assistance.
It began with trestle ceremony conducted by Lam Nitin. Today, a classroom was identified for such need and the sessions will begin from next year. Currently, there are over 600 students with special needs across the country. And Dampu Lower Secondary School alone has at least 20 students with special needs. The Dzongkhag will study how they will be able to provide special needs.
Dampu is located centrally, and then whereby our community can bring in their children. So that is the expectation. And in our long run, so we do have nearby secondary school whereby we can provide boarding facilities for those children with disability. That is the plan in 12-5-year plan. We have also identified in some different schools, we have around 5 to 6 numbers from each school. We are actually trying to pull in those children to one central school.
As of today, there are 18 special education needs schools in the country. And by the end of 12th 5-year plan, the Ministry of Education will have 28 schools with such program.
Children who are integrated in the main school systems are doing better than children who are studying separately. So that's a research finding. And there's a lot of advantage. Number one is social interactions. So when there is a social interaction, there's no leveling. So you are treated equal. The expert says that disability is not that they are disabled, but the environment they live in is harder for them. So that's why the people become disabled. So if the environment is conducive, then nobody is disabled.
Mobilize fund for this program.
A two-day orientation on the inclusive education model for the teachers of Tampu Law Secondary School will begin tomorrow. The UNICEF is supporting the program by providing assistive device and training the teachers on how to deliver special education services to the children with special needs. For Namgyeon Chintira, this is Pasong Doji for BBS News.
Bhutan will soon have a detailed data on fish in the country. National Research Center for Riverine and Lake Fisheries in Ha is currently collecting the samples and specimens from rivers and streams in eastern and central part of the country to study the diversity and fish in the country.
These officials from National Research Center for Riverine and Lake Fisheries in Ha are all set to collect the samples from a stream that joins the Gamrichu in Rangjung in Tashigang. Wearing the waterproof costume and shoes, carrying shocker and nets, they get in the river and starts fishing. The fish are then stored in containers. Similar study has been already conducted in western part of the country, collecting samples and specimens from Amuchu, Wachu and Punasangchu during its first phase of the project.
So far, there is no proper database of fishes in Bhutan. Therefore, with funds from Bhutan Trust Fund for Environmental Conservation, we are carrying out the second phase of the project. Our sampling team came here and our main objective is to assess fish composition and distribution and carry out fish fauna assessment to see the species available in our river systems.
Fish fauna assessment
Besides having a data on fishes of Bhutan, it is also expected to help in planning and coordinating any developmental activities without having impact on the aquatic biodiversity.
In the past, without any proper data and information about fishes, many hydropower projects were constructed and some species of the fishes might have gone extinct. Now with the database we are collecting, it is hoped that it will help in planning the construction of any hydropower projects in the future.
Small portion of the fins are cut off and placed on a card called FTA card with the information, and then it will be sent abroad for DNA test. The project began in 2016 and will end by June next year. For Sringzam in Tashigang, Pup KM for BBS News.
Thimphu is not prepared enough for responding to a disaster. This is what the participants concluded following the town's first earthquake simulation exercise conducted recently.
Different earthquake-associated disaster scenarios, such as fire and collapsing of buildings, were created during the exercise. Team for search and rescue, medical assistance, traffic control and firefighting were stationed at different locations. The simulation was carried out from 9 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. Sharing their experiences post-exercise, the participants highlighted many shortcomings in terms of emergency response and coordination besides shortages of necessary equipment.
We had problem of communication linkages. The operation chief could not contact the search and rescue team and also could not contact the medical team, whereby the dispatch of ambulances and dispatch of fire brigades and things like that were delayed. Now because of which we got so much report saying that we are losing lives.
Today I was actually observing at the Olaka workshop, and the cause was the earthquake there. And when the earthquake was taking place, some of the mechanics, they were under the car, repairing the car, and some they were welding the car, and because of that it had caused fire and they were trapped in the car. On that ground, I have called the main branch there in Thimphu, and the helpline was like taking time. From the general hospital, like the ambulance, it has arrived, and it was taking time. And at the same time, the fire brigades, they were taking time as well.
I was at the city hotel. The situation was collapsing of traditional houses and people trapped under the rubble. The family members asked me for help. I immediately reported the situation to the Tromde emergency office. However, due to poor communication networks, I could not connect to them. And when they finally responded, it took more time for the rescue team to reach the site.
The Tromde office has taken note of the feedback and will work on addressing the shortcomings through training and investment on the required equipment. Thimphu Tromde, in collaboration with the Department of Disaster Management and Save the Children, carried out the earthquake simulation exercise. It is in line with the Tromde's disaster management and contingency plan. This is Sonam Choden for BBS News.
The Damchu-Chukha bypass, as much a boon it is for the commuters, for the people of Simasham it comes as a disadvantage. The opening of the bypass in July this year has adversely affected their business.
When Damchu-Chukha bypass wasn't open to the traffic, we could see lots of buses, taxis and private vehicles being parked in front of hotels and shops here in Simasham. But today, the town has dried out and we could see few hotels being shut down too.
The new route has hit the hotel business in Simasham the worst. The town has over 20 hotels.
Earlier, people traveling in buses and taxis used to stop here to eat. The earning was as high as 12,000 yutam in a day, but these days it is difficult to earn even 2,000 yutam. I took loan to construct this building. I am worried about its repayment.
Simasham has become like a temple now. We don't see many people here. There are no customers. We neither have someone to complain to nor another place to relocate our business. Earlier, we used to earn 6,000 to 8,000 yutam as house rent. But now for the same apartment, it would be difficult to earn even 2,000 yutam as rent.
With business trying in Simasham, a few hoteliers have already set up their business along the new route while others are planning to do the same. People said having a school, hospital and Dzongkhag administration nearby does not help their business much. Most staff reside in Simalaka, where there is already a small town catering to their needs. Meanwhile, the Dzongkhag administration has already requested the Road Safety and Transport Authority to send a few buses through the old route. It is also encouraging establishment of private schools in the community and exploring avenues to promote tourism. For Sonam Penjo in Chukha, this is Pason Doji for BBS News.
Commuters travelling along the Mongar-Lhunse highway are not happy with the poor road condition between Gangola and Lhunse town. The Department of Roads has been maintaining the road, but to no avail.
The 65-kilometer stretch between Gangola in Mongar and Lhunse is filled with potholes. The drains along the road are also in dire need of maintenance.
The government says they want to repair the road, but its condition has remained the same for over 2 decades now. The road is poorly maintained and we have to drive slowly. Even passengers are facing difficulties. Some of them have to walk for over 4 hours from the road head to get home. These days, it takes almost 5 hours to reach Mongar from Hinsi.
He added, due to the poor condition of the road, vehicles frequently break down. Some commuters said the maintenance work were shelved following the plan to widen the highway, which is already behind schedule.
Earlier, there was no problem with the road, but later the Department of Roads started its widening work and the road's maintenance got deferred. Most of the trees along the highway were felled, but the road widening work did not begin. It's inconvenient for us when we have to frequently repair our car.
Last year, the former Works and Human Settlement Minister had said the widening of Lindsey-Mongar Highway was delayed due to deferring of the construction of Shinka-Gorgon bypass and an upcoming hydropower project at Dojulung in Lindsey. Meanwhile, the Department of Roads office and also said resurfacing works are already underway for about 18 kilometers of the stretch, while measurements are going on in other parts. Works will be awarded to contractors soon. The department has allocated 25 million yuan for resurfacing and maintaining the highway. For Sonam String in Mongar, Kilodem for BBS News.
That's all we have for you this week. Until next time, goodbye.